Let us begin our morning by singing together, so please rise in body and spirit and join us in song. The words are in your order of service. I believe we're singing Gather the Spirit this morning to start us off. We gather once again. We gather as a community of compassion and strength. We gather at this turning of the seasons, storing up what we know we will need for the coming spring and coming harvest, gathering to find ourselves once again in community. Welcome to the Unitarian Society of Santa Barbara. Welcome into this loving community of seekers who strive to live with integrity, nurture wonder, and inspire the actions that transform us and transform the world. It is very good to be here together this morning. I'm the Reverend Julia Hamilton. My pronouns are she, her, and I am delighted to welcome you into this community this morning. We have some wonderful music. Justine Sutton, our worship associate, is here with us this morning. Our musicians are here, our choir is here, and you are here. Whether you're here in this physical room with us or you're joining us in our online sanctuary, we are one community coming together to nurture our spirit this morning. If you're joining us as a visitor, friend, or family, maybe you've been once or twice and want to know more about the Unitarian Society, we have a newcomer orientation on the second Sunday of every month. That means next Sunday in the front office right across the courtyard there. You can gather with some folks from our membership ministry team, meet a couple of other newcomers, ask questions, get oriented to what it means to be part of this community. And if you've been coming for a while and you think that this is your spiritual spiritual home. You have found your people here at the Unitarian Society. We invite you into membership of this congregation at any time you are ready. We have our membership book in the courtyard at our membership table, and we invite you to sign and begin this journey with us, and let us cheer you into community on a gray, drizzly morning. We have a lot going on this upcoming week of February. I was looking at the calendar for next week, and every single night there is a way for you to get involved. And I want to highlight a couple of them. We have a Taizé service coming up on the 11th. This is a contemplative evening service, a time for spaciousness, simple songs and readings and meditative quiet in a small group. We put candles all around the sanctuary. It is quite a lovely way to renew your spirit this February on the 11th. We have our community choir starting up again this spring, but there's going to be a one-off on Monday evening for anybody who'd like to sing with the community choir. And on Thursday, February 6th, this coming Thursday, we are going to be hosting a town hall with Pacific Pride. This will be addressing the current situation and needs of our LGBTQ community here in Santa Barbara and beyond. This is sure to be a wonderful panel to discuss how we can be the safe, loving, supportive, and progressive community we want to be together. So I invite you, there's also the Contemporary Issues Forum and the Alliance. Beyond Sunday morning, there are ways to get to know one another, to do good work in the world and nurture your spirit. So you don't have to do everything, but pick something and jump in. I invite you now to take a breath, to settle yourself wherever you are, to allow yourself to turn off the to-do lists you might be carrying around in your back pocket. Give yourself the gift of presence here this morning together as we ring our bell and let the sound connect us. As we prepare to light our chalice, if you are joining us in our online congregation, I encourage you to put your name into the chat and type in where your chalice, literal or imaginary, is lit this morning across our community. And I'm going to bring the microphone to Justine this morning. Justine's recovering from surgery and is our worship associate on the ground. And so I will bring the microphone over to her for our chalice lighting.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Our chalice lighting words today are by Allison Ehrman. Let us kindle this flame to renew age-old communion. Let us plant seeds to sprout fresh tendrils of friendship. Let the hope of love and fellowship be born in us anew.
Every Sunday at the Unitarian Society, we pause to think of the good things that surround us, the good works, good people, beauty, and joy that is always present alongside our struggles. And so I invite you to think of a good thing, something real and concrete you have noticed in the world this past week, and share it with one another in the chat or at coffee hour. And I want to lift up a good thing together. And that this in honor that this is Black History Month, and that no one can stop us from celebrating the contributions of our diverse humanity in this world. And yes, you can applaud for that, that's fine. And so I want to honor Louis Latimer, one of our Unitarian forebears who made a difference in all of our lives, whether you have heard his name or not. He was brilliant and modest, and he was one of the key figures behind two of the most revolutionary inventions that we use all the time, the light bulb and the telephone. He was born in Boston in 1848. He was the son of parents who had escaped slavery in Virginia, And he served in the United States Navy during the Civil War, and afterwards he became one of the foremost African-American inventors in our nation, working with Alexander Graham Bell and taking the light bulb that Edison had patented and perfecting it so that it was usable and widely available. He was also a lifelong Unitarian and helped found the Unitarian Church in Flushing, Queens. I had the privilege of knowing his granddaughter, Winifred, who was a member of the Fourth Universalist Society of New York when I was the office manager there, before I headed into ministry myself. And she continued her grandfather's legacy of love and care for community. And so I wanted to lift up Lewis Latimer and his life as a good thing, because Black history is American history, Black history is Unitarian Universalist history, and that is good. Let us, yes. Let us sing together again. Please rise in body and spirit. We're going to sing Woyaya, which is in the Teal hymnal, number 1020.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within that we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Woyaya, 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 woyaya. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within. We will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Woyaya, 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 woyaya,
That's one of those songs you can't help but sway to a little bit. If you find yourself swaying when we're singing, that's okay, go with it. This is, of course, the first Sunday of the month, and that means we get to do something wonderfully fun and delightful, which is celebrate all of the birthdays we have here with us this morning. So if you have a February birthday and you want to come up and say your name and the day you were born and let us send some love your way, all the February birthdays, come on up. I know there's a couple in there, right? And if you're joining us online, if you want to put a name into the chat, we can celebrate birthdays that way as well. And Charla has some birthday star stickers so that we can celebrate that way. And we're going to ask you just to say your name, the day you were born. You can tell us how old you are if you want. It's always optional. And then we're going to send some love your way. Do you want to start us off, Carver?
My name is Carver, and I'm 10 on the 17th.
My name is Barbara Maxwell, and I'm going to be 90 in 2 weeks.
My name is Maurice. My birthday is tomorrow, February 3rd, and I'll be 71.
I'm Annalise Zwicky, and my birthday is February the 5th, and I will be 76.
So my name is Jack Eisenhower, and my birthday is also February 5th, and I'm not quite 70.
So let's take a moment and send all of our love and goodwill to the February birthday babies who are here with us. And those of you who are far flung, we hope that this year unfolds for you with joy and wonder, with friends to laugh with you in the good times and cry with you in the hard times. We hope that your heart grows more compassionate, your mind grows wiser, your spirit more loving. We are so glad you were born. The world is a richer place because you are in it. Happy birthday. You may be seated.
Good morning, everyone. It looks like our rug is up here, but you can come up and join me on the rug. Anyone who'd like to hear a story this morning, or on the stairs. Carver is here. Kaya. Anybody else who wants to come on forward? It's okay if you don't. All right. I'm going to move a little closer then to Carver and Kaya. All right. This story begins in a bedroom. This bedroom belongs to Casey. Casey's grandmother made the blue and green quilt on the bed. The quilt makes Casey feel like they are being rocked to sleep on gentle ocean waves. Casey likes to spend time drawing and reading in their room, but not all the time. Too much time would feel like living alone on an island. Casey's family eats dinner in the dining room every night. The dining room table is made out of wood from an old barn. You can see knots in the wood, and Casey likes to imagine the tree that the table came from. There are 5 chairs around the table, one for Casey, one for their brother Max, one for Mama, one for Pop, and one for Grandma Toots. Every night at dinner time, Casey's family lights a chalice, and everyone shares a rose and a thorn, something that was good and something that was hard during the day. Casey feels most at home at the dinner table with their family, even when Max blows bubbles in his milk just to be annoying. Their favorite dinner is lasagna with extra cheese. Casey's house is on a cul-de-sac. You guys know what a cul-de-sac is? Yeah. Oh, okay, it's like a round street that I didn't really come up with a good description for that. You kind of just is like a horseshoe-shaped street. Kind of. Their best friend Gemma lives 2 doors down with her moms and her dogs Barkley and Pickles. The best thing about Gemma's house is the living room. It has a big red couch, lots of picture books, and big squishy pillows on the floor. A window looks out at a liquid amber tree that turns the same shade of red as the couch every fall. Casey and Gemma love to take Barkley and Pickles for walks. They especially like to go to the dog park on Saturday afternoons when Mrs. Teaberry and her good dog Zeke are there. Mrs. Teaberry brings treats for dogs and people to the park. She makes the best snickerdoodles in the world. The town where Casey and Gemma live is not too big and not too small. They don't know everyone, but they know a lot of people. They know Mr. Sparks, the librarian who wears orange Crocs. They know Robert and Roberta, who drive the garbage truck through their neighborhood on Fridays. They know Robin, the whistling mail carrier. They know Reverend Julia from the Unitarian Church, who invites them to light the chalice on Sunday mornings. They know the names of almost everyone who works at Trader Joe's. Casey and Gemma like to shop when Frankie is working because they always give kids extra stickers. People like to help each other in Casey and Gemma's town. They bring casseroles when someone has a baby. They drive their neighbors who can't drive to doctor's appointments. They cook meals and bring dry socks for people who don't have homes right now. They like to help their town, too. They have tree planting days and trash pickups. One time, Casey and Gemma and their families spent a whole Saturday painting the community center. When they finished, everyone got brownies and lemonade for helping. One day last fall, something terrible happened in their town. There there was a fire. It took many days for the firefighters to put the fire out, and though they tried hard, they weren't able to save all the homes. One of the homes that burned down belonged to Angel, who was in Casey and Gemma's class at school. Their teacher, Mr. P, told the class that Angel and his family were okay, but that they had lost everything in their home. Casey thought of their blue and green quilt and their dining room table made out of wood from an old barn. Gemma thought of her picture books and big squishy pillows. They both felt sad and a little afraid. 2 days later, Mr. P had more news about Angel and his family. Mr. and Mrs. Smiley, who lived on Casey and Gemma's cul-de-sac, had just finished converting their garage into an apartment. They invited Angel's family to live there for as long as they needed. That day after school, Casey and Gemma called a meeting with both of their families and Mr. and Mrs. Smiley. "We want to help make a home for Angel and his family," Casey said. "They lost everything in the fire," Gemma added. Everyone wanted to help. Together, they made a list of things a home needs. Beds with quilts and a table big enough for everyone, books and big pillows to sit on, warm socks and casseroles, groceries and cookies, fresh paint on the walls, and a tree outside the window. The longer the list got, though, the more they knew there was one thing more important than everything else on the list, and it was something their town had a lot of: love. Love shows up in lots of different ways. For Angel and his family, it showed up as lasagna with extra cheese that night. They ate quietly on paper plates on a picnic blanket in their new apartment. And after dinner, the doorbell rang. Mrs. Teaberry was there with a plate of snickerdoodles. Casey and Gemma invited Angel to go to walk Barkley, Pickles, and Zeke with them. And when they returned from the walk, Grandma Toots was at the apartment with a quilt and pajamas for Angel, and Gemma's moms carried armfuls of squishy pillows. Mr. Sparks was there in his orange Crocs with a box of picture books, and Mr. and Mrs. Smiley held a reading lamp. Every day for weeks, love showed up for Angel's family in different ways, filling their home and their hearts with everything they needed. And Casey, wrapped in the gentle ocean waves of Grandma's blue and green quilt, fell asleep each night knowing that home was much more than just a house to live in. And that's our time for all ages, and we'll sing our children out to their class.
I invite you now into a time of reflection, meditation, and prayer, to center yourself once again in your body, in this community of humanity that we occupy this morning. And often during our time of prayer and meditation, I invite you to send compassion out into the world. But this morning, I am going to invite us to call compassion in, to bring into this sanctuary, both physical and the sanctuary of our hearts, all those who are hurting and need a safe place to rest and heal, all those in danger who need sheltering walls and a warm meal, the lost and the lonely, the persecuted and pursued. Let this be a house of peace this morning, where we create the sanctuary we need for one another. For all our transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming siblings who, like all of us, are deserving of respect and health and safety, We see you and hold you with love and care. For all our immigrant and migrant siblings searching for a safe harbor and steady ground, we see you and hold you with love and care. For those grieving the loss of loved ones from the plane crashes in Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia, we see you and hold you with love and care. For the first responders and firefighters and emergency personnel and social workers and trauma responders whose work puts them in harm's way on behalf of others, we see you and hold you with love and care. For people facing hard choices and the denial of bodily autonomy, we see you and hold you with love and care. For our disabled siblings who are fighting every day for access and equality, we see you and hold you with love and care. For those who struggle under the weight of white supremacy, anti-Semitism, misogyny, and other dehumanizing bigotries, we see you and hold you with love and care. For all who are struggling with addiction, illness, health, and well-being, who are in a personal struggle to survive in a society that lets far too many of us slip through the cracks, we see you and hold you with love and care. For our leaders and civil servants who are speaking up and finding ways to hold power accountable to the ideals of love and justice, we see you and hold you with love and care. As we enter into a time of quiet, I invite you to call into this space, into your hearts, anyone and everyone you can think of who needs sanctuary. Yes, even yourself. Let us gather this great, beautiful, diverse bouquet of humanity into our hearts, bear witness to the joy and the sorrow, and create a home where hope and healing are possible. Let us enter into a time of quiet together. I invite you to stay right where you are as we sing hymn number 123, Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my
Hello. Hello again. It's an interesting perspective, being in different spots than I usually am. It's always a good thing to have a different perspective, yeah? So, as many of you know, I'm Justine, your friendly neighborhood pagan. I have Irish ancestry, and I'm drawn to the Celtic pagan path of my forebears, so that's what I follow. So here we are at Imbolc, honoring the goddess Brigid. Sometimes people call the day Brigid. In the Celtic pagan wheel of the year, it's the start of spring. On our modern calendars, it's a day with an animal who tells us when spring will start. The groundhog. Who else watches the movie Groundhog Day around this time? Yeah, if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's very fun. So Groundhog Day retains an element of divination, which people used to use more. So depending on whether the groundhog sees its shadow, there could be 6 more weeks of winter or an early spring. So early spring would be now. 6 more weeks puts us at spring equinox, which is the start of spring on our modern calendars. So many believe the word Imbolc comes from Old Irish language for ewe's milk, because around this time the first lambs were born, and so people had sheep's milk again after the long winter of eating dried and preserved food and those stores running low. So this sheep's milk was truly life-giving. Though the ground was still cold and frozen, it was a time to look ahead to the coming year, spring planting, and what would be grown and harvested that year. Another tradition of Imbolc is honoring Brigid by baking loaves of bread. It's a time for hearth and home. Now, home means many things. The geographical place we live. I have lived in California my whole life, and in Santa Barbara, my adopted hometown, for 32 years. Home is where we are sheltered, if we are fortunate enough to be. I have lived in my cozy little apartment for 18 years. My spiritual home is here at the Unitarian Society, where I have been for 9 years. Then there is the home where we are housed our entire lives, our bodies. We can't move out and into a new one, but sometimes we can make modifications for the better. As some of you know, in the second half of 2024, I've had both knees replaced. How many of you have had a knee replaced? Yeah, several. How many of you have had both? Yeah, a couple there. So yeah, you know what it's like. Now, in the circle where I had my priestess training, our Imbolc ritual involved gazing into Brigid's well, which was a round mirror on the floor surrounded by lots of candles, the lights down low. In this flickering light, we envisioned what we'd plant and nurture through the year, what would grow and thrive, and what we'd harvest in the fall. I'm now embracing this sort of visioning. In the last 6 months, I've put in place the means to cultivate my harvest later this year, 2 new knees. This spring, I am planting and nurturing a state of improved mobility, along with greater quality of life, to harvest later in the year. Of course, this takes work, like digging and planting, and just like nurturing plants, it takes time and patience. I'm recovering now from the second surgery. People had told me the 2 can be very different experiences, and they were right. This has been more challenging than the first. In addition to the recovery of the knee, I had some setbacks, a fall, and very painful pulled muscle, then a re-injury of that. They have slowed down the overall process and at times left me unable for periods of time to perform just everyday tasks. The experience is surely taking patience and acceptance of a reality that's not what I'd hoped for. As I'm sure you're aware, as humans, we tend to have a difficult time with this patience and acceptance. But with the support of others, we don't have to go through it alone. Just like for planting and harvesting, we need the support of a community. When I joined USSB, I was so happy to become part of this congregation with values that align with mine and a rich life. I also thought about the reality of getting older with no family in town, friend group shrinking. I knew I'd likely have some illness or surgery in the future I needed support to recover from, and how helpful it would be to have a community for that. That is exactly what has come to pass, and I'm so grateful. I have huge gratitude to members of the care team and other folks in the congregation who have supported me and continue to in many ways. Coretta Scott King, as many of you probably know, was married to Martin Luther King Jr. Coretta Scott King said, "The greatness of a community is most accurately measured by the compassionate actions of its members." This is indeed a great community, planting and nurturing compassion, with all benefiting from the harvest. I'd like to share with you now a reflective reading on Imbolc by Mahada Thomas. Closer. Ready? My roadie will take care of that. Thank you. How's that? Is that better? Okay, well, good. No point in sitting up here doing this if you can't hear me. Just talking to myself. All right, Imbolc. Imagine yourself as a seed resting in the earth, dormant, dreaming. There comes a stirring, a knowing of what you are meant to be. Something cracks. A root births in the fertile dark, inching deeper so you may grow into the light. As we slowly feel our way through the dark, we may bump against the barriers of our own resistance. This is the shell of the old. Hold yourself here with gentleness, compassion, and patience. These edges will soften and make way for new growth. When facing our shadow within and without, call on Goddess Brigid to light the way. Her heart is so bright, she can illuminate the darkest of dark in the darkest night. We ask her to bless our creative inspirations with new possibilities. Welcome her graceful guidance into our healing hearts. Remember her promise of spring flowers, for she walks in blessed beauty, flower petals between her toes, and a dusting of golden pollen on her nose. She will nurture the patient seed held in the bosom of the earth. Blessed be.
If being part of that network of care that Justine spoke about is inspiring to you, please reach out to our care team to find out how you can be part of that network. Joe Fiore in particular, or any member of the care team, can help you get connected to the ways that we support each other. Every month, we choose a partner or a program that lives our values in the world. And this month, we are partnering with PFLAG, an organization that supports the LGBTQ community and those who love them as we work toward a more beloved world. So please give as generously as you are able to support the work of PFLAG and the work of this congregation. And read with me the affirmation of gratitude and giving. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for those who share their gifts with us, for we are enriched by their giving. And let us be grateful, even for our needs, so that we may learn from the generosity of others. Justine talked about patient. There we go. Our human struggles with patience. So in the past few weeks, since the fires ripped through Los Angeles, I've been ruminating on this question. What does it mean to love your home? Both the physical home, the material surroundings that make up your daily life, your haven, your shelter in a storm, your treasures and your trinkets, wherever it is that you lay your head, what is it that you love there? But also the home that is your community, your neighborhood, your landscape, your people. When confronted with devastating loss, these are natural questions that arise. What does it mean to love where you live? Now, to love your home is not to say that other places are unlovable, of course. Love, thankfully, is not a zero-sum game. There is enough love for everyone, for everywhere, and just as I believe all people are worthy of love and respect, I believe that all places on this earth have their own beauty and dignity and charms. You can extol the virtues of your own child, for example, without implying that all other children are terrible. You can wax poetic. We're working on the feedback here. We rocked out so hard, we're creating feedback. You can wax poetic about your romantic partner without believing that other people are unworthy of affection. And just because blue is your favorite color doesn't mean that someone who paints their house yellow is wrong. So it is with a home. You can love one place, your place, without pitting it against everyone else. And yet we're living in this culture, in this moment that loves to proclaim winners and losers, in a time where competition seems baked into our psyche, a politics of perpetual one-upmanship, a game show version of life. To make America great, we must make others less great. To be the best, others must be the worst. I reject this. This is a reassertion of a binary worldview, a false binary, to which the celebration of diversity is a threat. And as many of you may have heard me say before, I've made it my personal mission lately to question any and all binaries that come across my path. Humanity is so much more than just one thing or another. So when I reflect on what we love about where we live here in California, it's not so much to reinforce the idea that it's so much better here than anywhere else, but rather because when we are faced with loss and devastation and fear, reconnecting with what brings us joy and pleasure and hope, and finding that joy close to home, being reminded of that joy that we have right here in our home, this is an important part of resilience. And so if California is not your home, if you're joining us online from somewhere out of state, or if you're visiting here for a little while and are with us this morning, or perhaps your heart's home is somewhere else even while you live here, I hope you'll consider this service an invitation to reflect on what you love about wherever home might be for you. In a time of heightened anxiety, and oh boy, have I been anxious this week, taking a little time to recenter ourselves on something other than our worries about the imminent collapse of democracy, for example, off the top of my head. Centering ourselves on what we love seemed like a good idea. After all, we say that love is at the center of our faith, so let's start there. So I reached out on social media and to my friends and asked people to tell me what they love about California. Some of you here in this room responded. And although it's not Valentine's Day yet, love letters started pouring in. And I was surprised at how moved I was to read this litany of what people loved about their home. Within just a few hours, I received responses from over 40 people, perhaps, from all over the state, all over the country, all over the world. And here's what I gathered up. It will come as no surprise that perhaps the first thing most people mentioned was the physical beauty of this place, the nature, the topography of the land and the sea. It was probably the first thing that came to people's mind. I was raised in Pennsylvania. In PA, the topography is gentle, subtle. The weather is often dramatic. Here, the weather is more subtle. The topography is dramatic. I love being out of doors all year round. People spoke of the diversity of nature here, a landscape that has so many ecosystems so close together. Drive 10 minutes one way and your toes are in the ocean. Drive 10 minutes the opposite way and your feet are hitting the trail. I love that I can visit the snow in winter, but I don't have to live in it. I love the creatures who are my neighbors. Birds, dolphins, fish, whales, tide pool creatures. Our kinship feels more close here on the coast. I miss the smell of the chaparral in spring. Two people mentioned the quality of the light specifically. Scotland was too cloudy, Texas was too bright, Santa Barbara was in that Goldilocks zone of just right. When it all seems too much, someone said, we can take refuge in the wonderful beauty. And beyond just the enjoyment of the natural world, people praised the awareness that arose from that close connection to nature, the environmental sensibilities, the ecological consciousness, the way the landscape resonates, not just aesthetically, but emotionally and culturally. The feeling, particularly when out on the ocean, of being with nature rather than trying to control it. And the way people here are not pitted against nature as an enemy to be conquered, but as one and the same with our humanity. The opportunity to be in relationship with indigenous communities whose cultural practices transcend modern borders and connect us to the ancestors of this land. I guess I would say I love how California feels in my body. I feel open and full, grounded and expansive. My heart, whether broken or joyful, is fed there. My cells are alive there. But of course, it's not just the landscape, is it? I love the people. So many of our communities have been impacted by natural and human disasters, yet we get back up due to our never-ceasing resilience. People liked the feeling of being in a progressive, idealistic, and diverse place. There's that word again, diversity, coming up. The celebration of diversity was a strong theme across all of the responses, no matter what they were talking about. California provides options, someone said. A friend of mine who's a scholar of California history, and more specifically of Thomas Starr King, whose name is right here on one of our windows, as well as the preschool that we have here on our campus, she reflected on this theme of diversity and offered up the opinion that California, from its very inception as a state, had a unique multi-ethnic identity, a global identity, and that people have always loved it for this reason. And that Starr King himself, who ardently preached about the equality of all people, he believed and he said that the places that are the most diverse are the most blessed by God, in his words. Even nearly 200 years ago, there were people in California who saw diversity as a blessing, to be nurtured and cherished rather than contained. Or as another friend said, it's promise and possibility, it's self-conscious awareness of its own beauty, diversity, and strength. California is a place that takes people in. It has been, at least from colonization onward, one said, a place where people dream and create and recreate themselves and their society. I love that I can walk down the street and hold my beautiful same-sex partner's hand and even kiss her in public if I so choose. I love that my son's class is full of kids that don't look exactly like him, whose parents speak different languages, who celebrate different holidays. And this was perhaps my favorite description of the way California embraces all things. I have told tourists or people new to the state that just about every wild and crazy story they have heard about California almost certainly happened at some place at some time. All of it is true, and absolutely none of it is true. For it is filled with ordinary people who have grown up or transplanted to a landscape and a culture that invites both fantasy and realness, all mixed in with possibility and ever on the edge of disaster, natural or human-made. Maybe that's part of what makes it so real. And did I mention the food? That also got mentioned a lot. Strawberries, Central Coast. I'm not from California, but they will always be with me. They made me happy. We export happiness in the form of tiny red berries across the country. I'm not sure this is what you were looking for. The Mexican food in California is the best. Really, there are 3 or 4 Mexican foods in California, from the street food to Mexican-ish restaurant food to way too fancy Mexican food to fast food. It is all good, all good. But of course, it's not all good. More than one person mentioned the cost of living here as a counterpoint to everything. And perhaps one of the responses that broke my heart open the most was from a friend who had moved away, in large part because the California dream he believed in turned out not to be shared by everyone. And after writing what was essentially a poetic elegy for his beloved and broken state, he said, "My memories of California are fond. My hopes for California are bold. My expectations for California are fleeting." We do not always live up to the dream we hold up of being the progressive, inclusive, diverse, creative, and compassionate community that we long to be. And we have to acknowledge that gap between who we say we want to be and how we sometimes live in contradiction to those values. And yet, as Thomas Starr King also once said, hearts are the strongest when they beat in response to noble ideals. Hearts are the strongest when they beat in response to noble ideals. The ideals we hold up matter, even if we fall short, because those ideals still strengthen us. And perhaps this is one of the most important gifts that California has to share right now. California, with its willingness to try and fail and try again, its legacy of diversity and creativity, and its sometimes annoyingly sunny dreams to go along with its annoyingly sunny weather. California can remind us that our ideals are intrinsic to our strength, even if we have not fully embodied them yet. In this moment in history, I can find myself becoming sort of laser focused on this idea of what I don't want, of what I fear, of what I hope to avoid, the disasters I want to avert, and the histories I don't want to repeat. I can feel myself becoming this great big ball of no. Can you feel that too? But if we don't imagine and articulate the yes, the good that can be, if we don't cultivate the beauty and joy and instead only fight against the suffering and sorrow, if we can't talk about what we love and how we want to live, if we stop dreaming, we are in trouble. Resistance doesn't need to be a joyless, dreamless endeavor. If we fight for what we love and not just against what we fear, we will find the strength to carry us through, and this is true for wherever you call home. So I close with this quote from the writer Wallace Stegner. "One cannot be pessimistic about the West. This is the native home of hope. When it fully learns that cooperation, not rugged individualism, is the quality that most characterizes and preserves it, then it will have achieved itself and outlived its origins. Then it has a chance to create a society that matches its scenery. Let us strengthen our hearts and build up our communities of hope so that we have a chance to create that society that matches our scenery, that diverse and beautiful landscape of our hearts that we call home. Let us fight for what we love. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen. Rise in body and spirit and sing number 317, We Are Not Our Own.
We are not our own, earth forms us, human leaves on nature's growing vine, fruit of many generations, seeds of life divine. We are not alone, earth names us, past and present, peoples near and far, family and friends and strangers, show us who we are. Therefore let us make thanksgiving, and with justice willing and aware, give to earth and all things living liturgies of care. Let us be a house of welcome, living stone upholding living stone, gladly showing all our neighbors we are not our own.
So stay right where you are and get connected to that sense of larger love that flows through us. You can put your hand on your heart or hold hands with someone near you if you have permission to do so. Hold your hands open if that feels right to you, however it is that you get in touch with feeling not alone. And as we go out into this beautiful and heartbreaking world, may the light of love shine upon you, out from within you, be gracious unto you, and bring you peace. For this is the day we are given. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And let us call out a blessing.
Call out a blessing, 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 call out. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, exactly. And you got headphones too, so, and drumsticks. So, you know, if you ever need more drumsticks, just let me know. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So I guess we need to put it back.
Yeah, we can.